Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. President Biden proposed an almost $6 trillion budget for next year, which includes significant tax increases coupled with increased spending for defense and domestic programs. Before you get too nervous, keep in mind budgets proposed by presidents don't really mean much. In 2012, President Obama proposed a budget which garnered exactly 0 votes in the House and 0 votes in the Senate. Yes, you heard that correctly. Even House and Senate Democrats did not vote for President Obama's budget. So why should we care? Because proposed budgets do serve a purpose. They give voters a sense of priorities, of what's important to those proposing the budget. It's a blueprint of sorts for policy, even if the numbers are ignored. So it's relevant that President Biden eliminates some tax breaks for energy producers, especially when the country is reeling from high gas prices. Biden ordered the release of 1 million barrels a day from the strategic reserve in an effort to stem the political damage from higher prices. But those reserves will have to be replenished, and I doubt it makes people feel better knowing that OPEC or Venezuela or Iran might be responsible for resupplying our strategic reserves. Joining us now is the top Republican on the Senate Energy Committee, Wyoming Senator Dr. John Barrasso. Senator, thank you for joining us. It's hard for me to make sense of Biden's energy policy, and on the one hand shaming domestic energy producers while calling on OPEC to produce more. But you know more about energy than I do. What's he doing?
Well, Joe Biden is the president of high gas prices. He cannot hide from that. It's a political nightmare for the Democrats. People in Wyoming this weekend are paying $2 more per gallon of gasoline than they did the day Joe Biden came into office. And yet he continues to attack American energy and the people who keep the lights on and put gas in our tanks. This is an administration who has been at war with American energy since the day he took office. You look at his new budget, which is a blowout tax and spending bill of pipe dreams for environmental activism and extremism at a time when we're looking at a 40-year high of inflation. As you said, budgets are usually dead on arrival. They have to make some assumptions. And I'll tell you how out of touch this administration is, Trey. The assumption they made is that inflation is less than 3%. Look, people would love for inflation to be less than 3%. It's close to 8%. This budget is dead, and we're waiting to cremate it.
All right, Senator, I've heard you speak on this. I think you're the perfect person to kind of reconcile this. On the one hand, the administration says, well, the leases are open. We're giving out the leases. And then the oil and gas companies say, but there aren't permits. We can't get the permits. What is going on in this debate between who's at fault over us not being energy independent anymore?
Well, you're 100% right, because under President Trump, we became energy independent. And now with President Biden, we are dependent. And look who we become dependent upon. Russia, and then he heads to Iran and Venezuela. We need to produce more American energy. And this administration, through a combination of red tape, regulations, and basically threatening lending institutions to not loan money to people that want to explore for energy, they have shut down American energy to the point where today we are producing 1.3 million barrels of oil fewer than we were right before the pandemic. So this release that you talk about from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, look, this is another desperate Hail Mary pass by this administration. It's going to be incomplete, just like the others. Prices are not going to drop because we're not producing more American energy. This administration is doing everything they can to keep the energy in the ground. And when the president got to the White House, he surrounded himself with executioners with the cold intent of killing American oil and gas.
It's 1 million barrels a day, right, that's being released, and at some point that's got to be replenished. I wonder where he's going to go and at what cost to get it replenished.
Well, that is exactly right. Some people call this a gimmick. I think it's much worse than that. I think, Trey, it's very dangerous what the president is doing here, because he's drawing down this emergency supply to the lowest it's been at since 1984. So what happens if there is a real emergency that comes along? We're not going to be prepared. What we need to be doing is getting the energy out of the ground where we have an incredible abundance of it in Wyoming, in Alaska, in the Rocky Mountain area, all around the United States, offshore as well. But Joe Biden is basically held captive and hostage by the far left of his party on just about everything, and energy is number one.
Senator John Barrasso, Dr. John Barrasso, thank you for joining us on a Sunday night. Thank you for your service.